The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are planning to move back to the UK. Prince Harry and Meghan intend to relocate from the US later this month to a private, non-royal residence outside of London. The couple's children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, are thought to be enrolled to start at a British school in September. There are no current plans for either Harry or Meghan to resume their roles as working royals. Well, let's go straight then to our news correspondent, Tom Simons. Tom, good to have you with us. What more do we know?
Well, we understand that this story, first reported by the Daily Telegraph in the UK, is correct. We've checked with two different senior royal sources who say that, as you say, the Prince and his family will be back in the UK within weeks, living at some residence outside London, not a royal residence, but presumably somewhere where the Prince feels that one of his concerns, security, will be met. And that the King was told about this on Sunday. We understand that he has welcomed the opportunity to see more of the Sussex family in a private and personal capacity. And as you said, there is no plan for Prince Harry to become a working royal again, so to begin doing formal royal visits and engagements, something he stopped in 2020 when the late Queen decided that that's how he should operate in future. And we understand there's no chance of what you might call a half-in, half-out option being used to allow him to do some working royal type engagements. He won't be doing that. He will be presumably continuing his charity work here, which includes Invictus Games, a big charity for veterans. And one would imagine that the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, that she will continue her lifestyle business that she's been running in California. But they are back. I think the main question now is what has changed and why now?
And also, how much of a surprise was this?
It was a surprise. I think that's certainly true. Having said that, there were signs that this might have been coming. In July, the Sussexes met the King at Highgrove, one of his residences, and that meeting went very well. It was the first time that he has seen Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, who's 7 and 5, for the last 4 years. So the thawing of the relationship that has been going on for a few months now with the senior royals and the Prince appeared to have thawed a little bit more, to have warmed up even more on that occasion. There are some other factors as well, I think. Prince Harry lost a major court battle against the publisher of the Daily Mail newspaper recently. He has a pretty big legal bill coming for that, for the costs in that case. Now, some of that is insured, but that's still going to be some sort of a financial hit, I think, to him. And also, he has been trying to get that better security that he's wanted for some time in the UK. Now, we have not heard that he's been offered a better security, a VIP police security package in the UK, but perhaps he's been given some assurances that, as I said earlier, one of his major concerns that his family will be exposed to two potential threats, as he would see them, the media in the UK and also some sort of fixated individual who might want to try to get close to them, that has been mitigated in some way. So there are plenty of moving parts here, but he does seem that he is happy to come back to the UK.
Tom, this is certainly big news. Are we seeing any reaction yet?
Certainly, it is broken in the last hour, and I think we're going to see a lot of reaction from people commenting on what might be going through Prince Harry's mind when he considers all this. I think it's probably fair to say that some of that reaction will be that his life in the US has not been a huge and overwhelming success. He has had some media deals, some documentaries and that sort of thing. He's done some charity work in the US through his Archwell project, his Archwell charity. And as I said, the Duchess of Sussex has been running, as ever, her lifestyle business. But back here in the UK, he will be much more present in the culture of the UK. He might look a bit like a working royal, even if he isn't one, and he will be able to work hard on Invictus Games. That is a big project for him, and one that has been presumably quite difficult to operate from as far away as Montecito, California, where he has been living for the last well, some years. He's also had a place in Portugal for a while now as well. We don't know where he's going to live, and that's going to be of huge interest. And I think it's going to be a major story here. It's going to dominate for the weeks before he comes back and when he does come back.
Indeed. Tom Simons with that reporting. Tom, good to talk to you. And we can bring in Jack Royston now, Chief Royal Correspondent for Newsweek and host of the Royal Report podcast. Welcome to you. Did we have any rumblings of this? Did you have any rumblings of this?
Well, I have been kind of saying that something like this was going to happen for months now, but I did also think I was going slightly mad when I was saying it. So it's quite life-affirming in a way to have it now actually happen. But Tom was absolutely right. The signs were there. The Sussex has scaled down their US charity. It used to be the Archie Foundation. It used to run its own programs. Then they rebranded it as Archwell Philanthropies. They stopped running their own programs. They now just give money to other charities. Harry has shown absolutely no interest in America since 2024. The last time he said anything positive about America was before Donald Trump was re-elected. And, you know, back in February 2024, he was kind of very, very positive, saying America is my home. It's wonderful. And then at some point, he just kind of soured on it. And I cannot help but think that the re-election of President Trump had something to do with that. And he took on this much more kind of combative relationship where he was criticizing Trump on the Stephen Colbert show and over Ukraine. And then, obviously, you know, alongside that, he became much more positive about Britain. And in November, he wrote this love letter to the United Kingdom. It was to coincide with Remembrance. But he wrote, it wasn't just about Remembrance. He was talking about, you know, the banter and, you know, the terraces of sports games and things like that. It was very much, you know, about UK culture and British culture and his love of it, which is very, very different to how he talks about Britain in his book Spare, where he was kind of saying when he first went to America years and years and years ago, he loved the warmth and the kind of openness and the directness of Americans. And it was much better than the kind of stuffy, repressed Brits. But that whole attitude had completely gone within the last year. And in fact, in September last year, he said to The Guardian that the next 12 months would be all about his father, so not about his new life in America.
Well, on that very point, we know that Prince Harry had recently been in the UK, that he had met with his father, King Charles. Do we know anything more about the state of their relationship right now, where things stand?
Well, I think there's warmth on a personal level between them, but there are complicated things. There's complicated baggage around that warmth, and including in terms of Harry's relationship with palace staff. You know, in the build-up to that visit to the United Kingdom, there were huge tensions between the Sussexes and between the actual kind of palace employees over whether Harry would get to stay at Buckingham Palace. And, you know, he was kind of saying he wanted to, and then he retracted and said he didn't. And then he tried to change his mind again and say he wanted to stay at Palace. And in the end, the Palace just pulled the offer of accommodation from him. You know, Harry still, you know, my information is that Harry is still deeply mistrustful of certain people in the palace who sit on the Home Office committee that decides who gets police protection. And, you know, this attitude within Harry that certain palace staff members have stopped him getting his police protection teams, that still exists. He still kind of has those attitudes. But from some point next year, we don't know exactly when, a very senior palace staffer, Sir Clive Alderton, will leave, and Sir Clive is the last of the kind of the big three palace aides who were there at the time that Harry and Meghan first quit, and who helped to broker the kind of Megxit agreement, as it's called. All three of them will by then have left. And so he will, to some extent, be dealing with new people who he maybe doesn't have quite so much baggage around.
With all of that in mind, then, what do you think their life in the UK might look like a second time around? And also, of course, his relationship with his brother, Prince William, the heir to the throne.
Well, that is the big question. And he basically doesn't have a relationship with William anymore. And so in a way, this is kind of a disaster for William, because Harry and Meghan, when they first kind of start living their UK lives, will be massive, massive news and will probably wind up kicking anything that William and Kate do. off the front pages and out of the top ends of the news pages, because Harry will probably be visiting his charities. We already know he has some engagements in London in September because it's the Well Child Awards, and that is going to be massive, massive news. The kids are starting school here. People are going to want to know everything about what kind of a life they're living here. I presume that Harry is going to be doing a lot of work with some of those charities that he engaged with when he was a working royal. Now, he's not going to be doing it on behalf of the king as a working royal, but it's going to look very similar. In which case, it's going to be an absolute media feeding frenzy because it's such a big, it's such a big news story. It's not that he'll necessarily even be doing anything better than William and Kate, but it will be new. It will be viewed through the prism of this massive story that Harry and Meghan have finally come home. But also, back in the background here, there is a real positive for the monarchy as an institution, which is, it's kind of cynical to say it, but the salutary lesson for the future is that, chucking it all in and moving away maybe doesn't work.
Well, there's certainly going to be a huge level of interest in this story and their return. Jack Royston, Chief Royal Correspondent for Newsweek and host of the Royal Report podcast. Good to have your insights. Thank you.